Ned is no longer working with the Try Guys. Let's check out what they have to say about this.
Ned Fulmer is no longer working with the Try Guys. By now, we're assuming you've seen the Reddit threads and TikToks and tweets and news articles. We want to give you a timeline of what's transpired and some transparency into our decision making.
All right. We're not going to listen to all of that. But I think this is so interesting. Okay, let me just brief you guys on exactly what happened. If you don't know the Try Guys, BuzzFeed, they became popular on BuzzFeed. They then went and created their own thing, leaving BuzzFeed, their own business. They've used a lot of the know-how, intelligence, the company structures that they learned at BuzzFeed, and they created their own real big, sort of business. And it's kind of like a social media boy group. It's not they're not musicians, but they make content. But they've packaged themselves like a boy band. And their messaging is very much about inclusion. He's gay, and he's nerdy, and so they really work together, and they have a really good, strong following. You can see this video here has 7 million views, and they just posted it yesterday. So they have a very significant following, and I've noticed this trend going on. Well, I won't call it a trend, but with them taking Ned out of the Try Guys, with Maverick City getting rid of Dante. I love Dante and his voice. I just think it's so interesting to me the way that cancel culture is working and how people are sort of falling for it, or just the thing about cancel culture is that you could decide not to buy into it. Look at Kanye West. He's wearing that White Lives Matter t-shirt, and low-key, I've kind of canceled him for that. And I don't know, because he might come out with something else and I support him again, but I really would like not to support Kanye. That was extremely offensive. But my point is, Kanye is uncancelable. But there is I think the question as to whether you are uncancelable or not is up to you and how you receive the way that your audience or an audience responds. And you see it with Will Smith, you see it with these guys, and they get silenced by social media. It's almost, to me, it's like they just want to follow the rules so bad because they want to be these squeaky clean individuals. They want to follow the rules so bad that they just kind of do whatever they're told to do. And to me, that defeats the purpose of being an independent business entity and all those things. I believe in the uncancelable. Sure, there are the people like the Fresh and Fits, the Andrew Tates, and the Sneakos, who are very extreme and very annoying, but are never canceled because they have empowered or embodied that villain branding and packaging, and Kanye has sort of stepped into that. But I think when it comes to the Try Guys, the messaging that they're trying to push and the image they're trying to push, it doesn't align with their image and their messaging. But ultimately, to me, I don't think it matters, and I actually think that they're not going to recover from removing Ned from the Try Guys. Okay, let me break this down. We look at every boy band in history, every girl group in history. What happens? Even down to Destiny's Child. So many boy groups. When they break up, they kick one person out. There's just never any recovering from that. It just kind of minimizes your impact. And so I don't think they've messed up themselves from taking him out. Okay, sure, what he did was wrong. He made out with somebody in public, or he was having an affair. And I'm not condoning cheating or anything, but I'm just kind of thinking, first of all, that's his personal business. Sure, he was hooking up with one of their employees. So yes, it kind of is their business, but that's his personal life and his personal business. Why are you then deciding that you're going to completely remove yourselves from him just because of peer pressure from it? Just, to me, I think that's an extreme thing to do, to kick him out of the Try Guys because he was cheating on his wife. That's between him and his wife. So if it's one, him cheating on his wife, two, him hooking up with an employee, that's something that you should handle internally, right? But I guess it was so against their views, especially Eugene. Eugene was very he seemed quite a little bit too emotional for me in this interview, and I'm not coming against him, but he was very like, it is not what we support. I thought it was a little dramatic the way that he reacted to this. And okay, I just think that that's his personal business. I understand that it doesn't align with your company values and your views, but ultimately when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's going to affect your business because your business is no longer the same. And when you look at other boy bands in history, from One Direction to NSYNC to B2K, when one member is kicked out of the group, nobody recovers from it. Destiny's Child were the only example that I can remember that they kicked somebody out, they put someone else in, and they continue to thrive. But that is because Beyonce had a unique determination to be successful. And what happened? The group still dissolved in the end, and Beyonce used that as a stepping stone for her own solo career. So they still had to dissolve ultimately. And that to me goes against the whole idea of the Try Guys. I don't know what their company's like long-term goals or mission is, but I think when they came together in BuzzFeed, it was great. They made great content. They were extremely exciting. And then for them to go off and do it themselves and have ownership of the Try Guys themselves, that was inspiring to me. That was refreshing to see these like entrepreneurs collaborate and do something big like the Try Guys. But now I just kind of feel like they're just kind of trying to please society too much. They're trying to please social media too much to avoid being canceled. But I don't think that I think it alienates them from people. It makes them just not seem empathetic. And more importantly, it's just unrealistic expectations that they're putting. That's what I mean. It just makes them not relatable, because to put this expectation, let me break it down easier. I just think that there's this sort of like goody two shoes image that people push in social media, and it's a leftist narrative. Not that I'm on the right. I call myself structurally liberal. I think it's this leftist narrative that you have to be picture perfect for you to be acceptable. And that means you cannot do anything that's against female empowerment. You can't do anything that's against, progressive or any of the sort of like progressive movements. If you do anything that's against it, you're finished. How dare you? You should be destroyed. And I think that's BS, because I think we have to think about society at large, and there are pockets for people in all facets of society, and there are people that empathize with people's behaviors. And I think empathy would have been a better approach than alienation, because when you isolate him and you alienate him, what about the other millions of people that have cheated before, or don't even think that cheating is a big deal? Which, I'm not condoning cheating. I do not support it in any way. I just think that it's a little bit alienating to say that is the standard. We don't accept the cheating. We don't accept that. Like, he's human. He made a little mistake. Is that mistake worth him losing the company that he built with you guys? I mean, his wife has decided to stay with him. Why is it your business that he's cheated on his wife? That's her business. So that's my issue. Like, I'm not supporting the cheating. I'm just thinking that social media, the way that especially the landscape is, people are too involved in individuals' personal lives. And I just think it's not your business, and definitely not enough for you to take him out of the company. I think he probably has 25% ownership. He probably still has that in the shares of the company because he built it with them. So no matter where they go, he's still probably going to own the company. But I just think they don't want his face associated with them. And here's another thing that pisses me off. it's a very myopic view because this type of thing will blow over. People are going to forget about it in a month. But you've made a bigger deal out of, you've made a life-changing decision off of a small little mistake that people are going to forget in a month, 2, maybe 3 months max. So you've blown it way out of proportion, kicked him out of the group because it's not what you stand for. But don't you stand for empathy? That's my problem with cancel culture. There's no empathy. There's no understanding that everybody is doing their best at their level of consciousness. Yes, it sucks that he cheated on her, but when I think about the manosphere, and I think it's decisions like this that promotes the existence of the manosphere. Because these men are so alienated from society, from this sort of like extreme, and I don't want to use the words that the right use, like wokist, leftist, feminism, and they go against it because I am a feminist and I believe in equality and I promote all of those things. But again, I call myself structurally liberal. I think that when we move in a place of love and empathy, that makes more sense. So to me, it's just like they're trying to uphold this ridiculous standard that they don't even live up to themselves. Because when it comes down to it, what is it? You throw like, I can't remember this quote, but like you point your finger at someone else. What about you? Look in the mirror, man. Look in the mirror and see what happened. I just had some things in my life, but look in the mirror and see you're not perfect. You're not perfect. And that's the problem with social media. They like to position everybody like they're so perfect. Everybody's so perfect. Everybody's just never made any mistakes. And it's just not realistic to me. It's not realistic. So to make this life-changing decision, it's more than a life-changing decision. It's like you completely removed him from the company, your whole brand. So I guess, long story short, what I have to say about this as an influencer, be very careful as an influencer in collaborating with other influencers on a page. Be very careful about that. For one, if you collaborate with someone, they might mess up your image like this. They might mess up your image by doing something stupid. And then you lose brand sponsorships for maybe a year. That's why I'm pissed off with them because, like, yeah, you guys might have lost brand sponsorships, but it's only for like a year. It's like they're so desperate for the money that they're going to get in these brand sponsorships that they're just trying to say, we don't work with him, thinking that it's going to make the brands come to them. But ultimately, the brands are still going to say, hold off for a little bit. Let's see how this thing dies down. Because they're just myopically looking at the little amount of money, maybe a couple $100,000 that they've lost in the short run. But I think the real tsunami that's coming their way is that they're going to be canceled in a way. They're just not going to, their viewership, their content is not going to revive. Are they really going to get someone to replace him? You're going to have to make exceptional content for people to really want to come back to you. But anyway, my point is, don't collaborate with people because they can mess up your image. They can mess up your brand. So you have to be careful how you collaborate with people, who you collaborate with. Don't really associate yourself with other people. But in addition to that, you don't want to be in the Ned situation where you've collaborated with these people, you built this business together, and then they decide to kick you out of the group. Because like you own 25% shares, but sure, Ned still owns 25%. I don't know actually how much he owns, but I assume he owns 25% at least of what their shares, the four of them, their shares are. So he still has ownership in dividends. Like they'll probably still get the same dividends payout, but they're going to get a different salary as employees of that company, and they've removed him from the company. But I just think for me, it's like they say, a husband and wife don't buy a house together. Don't buy a house with somebody else. I think it's the same thing. Don't start a company, or no. So you can start a company with someone else. It's different, but like don't start how do I phrase this? As an influencer, don't create a social media platform with someone else. You could ownership is different from performing, right? So when you go into this group, if you have financial ownership or equity ownership, that's fine. You're always going to keep that. But when it comes to the presenting and for them to decide, oh, we're kicking you out of the group, you can obviously you'll still have ownership. We don't have any say in that. But you being in the face of this, we kicked you out of that. It's messed up. Then I think about also the fact that they've completely messed up his livelihood. So this is something that affected his wife, and she's the one that's going to suffer financially most from this. So you're not even just not helping him, you're not helping her either. You're making her case terrible too. So to me, I just think it's extremely alienating, and this is why the manosphere is growing ridiculously, because men are just looking for somewhere that they will be supported unconditionally. And this whole sort of feminism or new age feminism, I am a feminist, but I say this new age feminism supported by this sort of like extreme leftism of we all have to be perfect when we're really not, just kind of alienates people, and it just sucks. And that's my problem with cancel culture. That's my problem with this. When I talk about the Maverick City thing, it's so similar, because these guys, the Try Guys, their image is squeaky clean. Maverick City also, I mean, it's a Christian group. And I think Dante in Maverick City was caught listening to Bad Bunny and coming out of a party bus. And because of that, they had to kick him out of the group. Talk about alienating him, or alienating your group and your values and your standards as a brand from your audience. You can't party if you're a Christian. Is that what they're saying? You can't listen to Bad Bunny if you're a Christian. And why do they respond this way? It's because they get bombarded with tweets, bombarded with comments on social media. They get scared. They think they're going to lose everything. And they just kind of make these harsh, crazy, ridiculous decisions out of nowhere. And I just have to say, if you're going to enter the content game, if you're going to enter the media landscape, you're going to have thicker skin than that. You can't make massive, huge, life-changing decisions, business-changing decisions, infrastructure-changing decisions based on fear and a short-term cancellation. It's like Drake says, give it 48 hours. If people have forgotten about it, most people will forget about it. But the fact that these people just cower away and hide, that to me is shameful. That to me is alienating. That to me is what promotes the right, the extreme white supremacists, the extreme manosphere. You're just giving them fuel to push their ridiculous narratives. The red pill, all of those. You're just giving them more fuel to prove to that, like, look, and they're kind of like, they're almost like the devil. Like, they're like, hey, the left rejected you, so we will take you. And what do? They turn you into these extremist, crazy, white supremacist, women-hating individuals. I just think that we need to operate in a place of empathy, and let's not alienate people by removing somebody from their group. So ridiculous to me. Yeah, he slept with someone, like he cheated on his wife. That's his business with his wife. That has nothing to do with him or with his public image. That's none of your business. Absolutely none of your business. So to cancel him for something that he chose in his personal life, it's absolutely none of your business. To remove him from the company because it doesn't support what you stand for. Don't start a company with other people. Like, if you are going to start a company with people, in terms of ownership, again, you're fine. You'll always have ownership. But when it comes to the output and the performance, if you're not aligned on some things, do not start the company. I think I had a comment about the collaborations. Let me look for it. My rules for creative collaborations. My 3 keys for creative collaborations. Number 1 is creative alignment. Do we want to make the same type of content? Number 2, the content of content. Are we aligned in the details, nuances, language, and messaging of our content? Number 3, business alignment. Are we in agreement with the financial and business structure and branding? This is under number 3. Were they aligned on that? No, they weren't. They weren't aligned on the business structure. They weren't aligned. Even number 2, they weren't aligned on all of those things. But I think their morals and values were not aligned. So if you're going to join a performance group and be with them together, make sure that you guys are aligned on your values and your morals. It's kind of like a marriage. Your values and your morals. Yes. Is it terrible that you cheated? Yes. But can you guys agree? Do your values tell you morally it's incorrect to you? Okay. But do your values say that you have to kick me out of the group before we can come together? No. And honestly, when you think about it, this is the dilemma that we're going to face in this new age, because of the fact that traditionally these groups would have been owned by a bigger company, and that bigger company would make the decision. But now that we all have ownership of our own products, our own selves in this new media landscape, we then I can't, you can't, I'm not going to cancel myself, right? I'm not going to cancel myself. Fresh and Fit, you're not going to cancel them. They're going to keep making the crazy content that they make. Man, sorry about that. They're going to keep making the crazy content that they make. No one's going to cancel them. That's just the way it is. And so now that we have ownership ourselves, we have to be strategic about who we partner with and how we partner with them. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you think it's alienating what they've done? Do you not think so? Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. All right. See you next time. Peace. End stream.